My friends, let me share with you a story that echoes far beyond the walls of any boardroom. A story of dignity, of perseverance, and of the quiet power that lives within every human being. There was once a CEO, sitting in the comfort of his wealth, laughing at something so small, so trivial, the shoes of a waiter. He saw a man serving, but he failed to see the man's potential. He saw worn leather, but he missed the iron while walking inside them. He saw status, not substance. But what happened next was not just ironic, it was transformative. Because minutes later that same waiter stood tall, not as a servant, but as an owner. The very owner of the company the CEO thought he ruled. This is not just about shoes. It is not even about money. It is about the danger of underestimating people and the miracle of perseverance. Every single one of us has walked in shoes others might have mocked. Shoes of struggle. Shoes of doubt. Shoes of rejection. But those shoes carried us forward, step by step, toward something greater. The waiter in this story is not just one man. He represents the countless dreamers who refuse to be defined by their circumstances, the single mother working double shifts to give her children a better life. The immigrant starts with nothing but hope in his pocket and fire in his heart. The young student was studying by candlelight because electricity failed, but determination never did. These are the ordinary people who, through extraordinary resilience, remind us that where you start is never where you are destined to remain. Yes, the world will laugh at you. They will doubt your abilities, dismiss your vision, and reduce your worth to labels, uniforms, or appearances. But never forget, mockery does not define your destiny. Perseverance does. Hard work does. Belief does. And most of all, character does. The CEO in this story laughed at a pair of shoes. But those shoes walked through storms. Those shoes carried miles of struggle. Those shoes climbed steps of rejection. And in the end, those same shoes walked through the door of ownership and power. My friends, this is a reminder to never despise humble beginnings. Today, you may be serving tables, cleaning floors, driving a car for someone else. But tomorrow, if you persevere, if you refuse to give up, if you rise every time life knocks you down, you may own the very building where you once served. So I stand before you with this call: do not measure yourself by how others see you. Measure yourself by how you rise after falling, by how you give when you have little, by how you believe when belief seems impossible. Because in the end, the story is not about the CEO who laughed. It is about the waiter who persevered. And that, my friends, is the story of humanity itself. A story of ordinary people doing extraordinary things because they chose not to quit. So let us walk forward together, in our own shoes, however worn they may be, knowing that every step matters. Let us build a future where dignity is not mocked, but honored. A future where no dream is too small and no beginning too humble. And when they laugh at you, let them. Because one day, those laughs will echo behind you, and your footsteps, your shoes, will be heard leading the way to greatness. The world may laugh at your shoes today, but those same shoes can walk you into greatness tomorrow. There is a truth about life that too many people forget: greatness rarely starts in golden halls or on marble floors. It often begins in quiet places, in the corners of life where no one is watching, and sometimes in the very shoes that others laugh at. Shoes worn down by long days of hard work. Shoes that have walked through rain and heat, carrying not just a body but a dream. Shoes that tell the story of persistence, sacrifice, and dignity. The world is quick to laugh. People are quick to judge what they can see, what you wear, what you own, how you look. They see the outside, but they cannot see the story behind it. They don't see the nights you stayed awake chasing a vision that nobody else believed in. They don't see the mornings when you had to push yourself just to get out of bed and face a world that seemed determined to remind you of your limits. They don't see the sacrifices. The meals skipped so that children could eat, the hours worked so that bills could be paid, the dreams postponed so that responsibilities could be carried. All they see are the shoes. And sometimes they laugh. But what they fail to understand is that those shoes are not symbols of weakness. They are symbols of journey. They are proof that you did not stop when it was hard. Proof that you kept walking even when life pressed against you. Proof that you endured what others could not. And it is often those very shoes, the ones laughed at, that carry you across the line into greatness. Think about the waiter in our story, mocked for the shoes he wore. The CEO looked down and saw something unworthy of respect. But what the CEO missed was that those shoes had walked through fire. They had walked through rejection. They had walked through the long nights of doubt and the hard mornings of persistence. And those same shoes carried the waiter not just to serve a table, but to own a company. This is not just his story, it is the story of countless people across the world. The entrepreneur who started with nothing but a street cart, pushing it with shoes worn thin by miles of struggle, and later built an empire. The student who studied in torn shoes, traveling hours just to reach school, and went on to become a leader who transformed lives. The worker who stood on factory floors with blistered feet, mocked for being just labor, and later became the owner of the factory itself. Shoes may not look like much, but they carry the power of perseverance. Every scratch, every crease, every mark on them tells a story of survival. They are silent witnesses to your journey. And sometimes it is in the very act of walking forward, step by step, mile by mile, that greatness is formed. The laughter of the world does not determine your destiny. What determines it is your refusal to stop walking. Because every step, no matter how small, takes you closer. Every day you keep moving, no matter how tired, builds strength within you. Every sacrifice you make today is a seed planted for the tomorrow you are working toward. The truth is, the world often laughs before it applauds. They laugh at the dreamer before they cheer for the visionary. They laugh at the worker before they respect the leader. They laugh at the shoes before they realize those shoes carried a human being who refused to quit. So when they laugh, let them. When they point, when they whisper, when they mock, remember that it is not their laughter that matters. What matters is that you keep walking, that you keep believing, that you understand the journey is shaping you, molding you, preparing you for something greater than what they can see, because the very shoes they laugh at today may be the ones that walk you into boardrooms tomorrow. The shoes that they mock may be the ones that step onto stages where your voice will inspire millions. The shoes that they ridicule may be the same ones that climb to the summit of a dream you refuse to abandon. Do not let mockery define your destiny. Perseverance, belief, and character will. Mockery is one of the oldest weapons humanity has ever used. It doesn't break bones, but it cuts deep. It doesn't leave scars on the skin, but it bruises the heart. When people laugh at you, dismiss you, or reduce you to a joke, it feels heavy. It makes you question yourself. It makes you wonder if maybe they're right, if maybe your dream really is too big, if maybe your steps are too small, if maybe you don't belong in the places you're trying to reach. But mockery, no matter how loud, cannot decide your future. People's laughter does not write your story. Their words do not shape your destiny. It is perseverance, belief, and character that will. Think about this: the greatest achievers in history were often mocked before they were celebrated. Thomas Edison was told he was too stupid to learn. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Nelson Mandela was ridiculed, imprisoned, and silenced before he became a symbol of freedom. Even inventors, leaders, and visionaries across every generation were laughed at before their work reshaped the world. Mockery was the soundtrack to their beginnings, but perseverance was the force that carried them to greatness. Perseverance means you keep going when it feels easier to stop. It means waking up to push forward even when yesterday was filled with rejection. It means hearing laughter, feeling doubt, carrying the weight of mockery, but refusing to bow to it. Perseverance is the steady step that builds momentum when the world expects you to quit. And belief? That is the fuel. Belief is not about pretending the road will be easy. It is about knowing the road is hard, but walking it anyway. It is the quiet voice that whispers, "Keep going," when everything around you screams, "Give up." Belief is the invisible power that separates those who settle from those who soar. It is the anchor that holds you steady when storms rage, when doubts pile high, when others label you a fool for daring to try. And then there is character. Character is the foundation no mockery can shake. It is who you are when nobody is watching, when applause is absent, when recognition is nowhere in sight. Character is honesty when shortcuts tempt you. It is integrity when compromise seems easier. It is humility when pride tries to take the stage. Character is the quiet strength that builds legacies, because in the end, mockery fades, laughter dies down, but character endures. The danger of mockery is not in the sound of it, it is in believing it. When you begin to internalize the voices that belittle you, when you start to see yourself through the lens of those who doubt you, that is when mockery wins. But when you refuse to let it define you, when you use it instead as fuel, then mockery becomes powerless. Every insult becomes a stepping stone. Every laugh becomes an echo that reminds you of the distance you've already traveled. Picture a young man working late nights, mocked by his peers for dreaming too big, laughed at for wearing second-hand clothes, dismissed as someone who will never rise. Yet he stays the course. He reads when others sleep. He works when others waste time. He invests in his growth when others chase comfort. Years later, he stands in front of those same peers, not with bitterness, but with quiet triumph, having built a future they never believed possible. That is perseverance. That is belief. That is character. Your destiny is not fragile. It cannot be broken by words. It cannot be dismantled by laughter. It is forged in your resilience, written in your decisions, and strengthened by your courage. Mockery may follow you, yes, but so will growth, so will progress, so will transformation if you refuse to surrender. So the next time someone laughs at you, remember this: they are only looking at the present moment, but you are living for the future. They are looking at the seed, but you know the tree it will become. They are seeing weakness, but you know the strength you are building. Their laughter is temporary. Your destiny is eternal, and it will be defined not by the noise of mockery, but by the fire of your perseverance, the depth of your belief, and the unshakable power of your character. Where you start is never where you are destined to remain. Life has a way of convincing people that beginnings define them. If you are born into poverty, the world will whisper that you will never escape it. If you start at the bottom of a company, some will say that is where you will always stay. If your first attempt fails, the critics will laugh and tell you failure is your identity. But the truth is this: where you start is never where you are destined to remain. History is filled with stories that prove this. A child who once sold newspapers on the streets of Detroit later became one of the greatest inventors the world has ever known, Henry Ford. A boy born in a small house in Kentucky with no wealth and no family name rose to become President Abraham Lincoln, leading a nation through its greatest trial. A young woman born into poverty, facing rejection after rejection on television, later became one of the most powerful and influential voices in the world, Oprah Winfrey. None of them were defined by their beginnings. They understood that where you start is just the first chapter, not the whole book. Starting small is not a curse, it is a classroom. The challenges you face at the beginning are the very lessons that prepare you for the heights you are meant to reach. The long hours, the small paychecks, the mistakes, the moments of being overlooked, they are not proof that you are stuck, they are proof that you are in training. Training for responsibility. Training for leadership. Training for the weight of success that you will one day carry. Imagine a seed buried in the ground. At first, it looks like nothing, just dirt, just a forgotten speck. But underneath the soil, something is happening. Roots are growing, foundations are being set. And in time, the seed pushes through the earth, rises toward the light, and becomes a tree that can provide shade, fruit, and life. The seed's beginning did not determine its destiny. It only concealed it for a while. And so it is with you. Perhaps today you find yourself in a place that feels too small for the dream in your heart. Maybe you are working a job that doesn't reflect your potential. Maybe you are surrounded by people who cannot see your vision. Maybe your environment whispers limitations to you every day. But never confuse your current position with your permanent destination. The beginning is just a location, not a sentence. It is not who you are forever. It is simply where you are for now. Greatness is built step by step, and every step matters. The job you dislike today may be the place where you learn the discipline that sustains you tomorrow. The rejection letter you received may be the very moment that pushes you to discover your true calling. The struggle you face may be the soil where your character grows deep enough to withstand the storms ahead. Do not despise small beginnings. The waiter serving tables could one day be the owner of the restaurant. The driver chauffeuring executives could one day be signing deals bigger than the ones happening in the back seat. The janitor cleaning offices at night could one day be running the very company whose floors he once swept. Where you are today is simply the preparation ground for where you are meant to go. But you must hold on to one thing: your vision, because vision is the bridge between where you start and where you are destined to arrive. Without vision, beginnings feel permanent. With vision, beginnings feel like stepping stones. It is vision that gives meaning to your sacrifice, vision that gives strength to your perseverance, vision that reminds you that the current moment is not the final word. Do not allow your environment to define your limits. Circumstances may tell you that you are stuck, but destiny whispers that you are moving. People may remind you of your past, but purpose points you to your future. You are not bound by what you see around you. You are propelled by what you choose to believe within you. So when life tempts you to look at your start and feel small, remember this: the greatest rivers begin as drops of water, the tallest buildings begin with a single brick, and the strongest leaders often begin as servants. The beginning is just the seed. The future is the harvest. And where you start is never where you are destined to remain. Every worn step you take carries the power to rewrite your story. Life is not rewritten in leaps. It is rewritten in steps. Ordinary, everyday steps that seem small in the moment but hold extraordinary power over time. Every step you take, no matter how worn your shoes may be, carries within it the possibility of transformation. Those steps might be heavy, they might be slow, they might even be painful, but each one brings you closer to a version of yourself the world has not yet seen. When people look at your journey, they often see only the highlights. They see the success, the breakthrough, the triumph. What they do not see are the countless steps that led there. The nights of walking home after rejection, the mornings of rising early to work jobs that barely paid enough, the steps through storms of doubt, the steps through paths of sacrifice. They miss the journey because they only look at the destination. But the truth is this: every worn step along the way is part of the story being rewritten. Think about the immigrant who arrives in a new country with nothing but hope. His first steps are into factories, kitchens, or construction sites, shoes worn by labor, hands roughened by toil. To the outside world, those steps look small, even invisible. But day after day, as he takes those steps, he is rewriting his story. From worker to provider, from provider to business owner, from business owner to leader of a new generation. His footsteps are not just movements. They are chapters in a story of perseverance. Or consider the single mother working 2 jobs, walking long distances, shoes worn thin by responsibility. She takes those steps not for applause, but for her children's future. Every wary step from home to work, from work to home, every sacrifice embedded in the journey, is rewriting her story. It is turning hardship into strength, poverty into progress, limitation into legacy. The power of a step is that it doesn't demand perfection. It only demands movement. You may stumble, you may drag your feet, you may even pause, but as long as you keep stepping, your story is not finished. Every worn step you take says, I am still here. I am still trying. I am still moving forward. And that persistence alone has the power to transform your life. Many people believe stories are rewritten in a single moment. Promotion, a breakthrough, a deal. But the truth is that those moments are simply the results of all the small, worn steps that came before. The breakthrough is not the rewriting, the breakthrough is the unveiling of what your steps have already created. Look at the stories of great leaders, innovators, and pioneers. Before they were celebrated, they walked through seasons of anonymity. Before they were praised, they took steps that nobody noticed. Their steps were mocked, dismissed, underestimated. But every step was shaping them, every step was carrying them closer, every step was rewriting their story. Your shoes may not look impressive right now. They may be worn from struggle, marked by sacrifice, covered in the dust of roads nobody else wanted to walk. But those very shoes are proof of your resilience. Every step you have taken has prepared you, has shaped you, has built the foundation for what is coming. The mistake people make is thinking their current steps don't matter. They think only the big steps count. The job promotion, the degree, the achievement. But it is the small steps that hold the real power. Waking up when you don't feel like it, showing up when nobody notices, choosing discipline over comfort, saying no to distractions, saving a little instead of spending it all, learning one new skill, reading one new page, practicing one more time. These steps may not look like much, but each one is rewriting your story in ways you cannot yet see. And when the day comes that your story is revealed to others, they will call it sudden. They will say you got lucky. But you will know the truth. It was not luck. It was every worn step you took when no one was watching. It was every step forward when you felt like quitting. It was every choice to move, even when you were tired. Your destiny was not rewritten in a moment. It was rewritten step by step, through the power of persistence, through the faith of continuing, through the courage of walking in worn shoes. When the road was long and the path was hard, ordinary people become extraordinary when they refuse to quit. The world is built on the shoulders of ordinary people. Men and women who did not look different from you or me, who did not begin with privilege or position, who had nothing to suggest greatness was in their future. Yet these same people became extraordinary. Not because life made it easy, not because opportunity was handed to them, but because in the face of struggle, they refused to quit. Quitting is always the easier option. When life pushes against you, when doors close, when rejection stings, when you feel invisible, quitting whispers to you. It tells you, why bother? Nobody sees you, nobody cares. You've already failed. That voice is powerful, and many surrender to it. But the extraordinary are the ones who silence that voice. They are the ones who, even in the darkest moments, say, I will keep going. Think of the single father working double shifts, his body exhausted, his spirit weary. By every measure, life tells him he should quit. Quit on his dream, quit on his hope, quit on the belief that things can change. But every day he wakes up and keeps moving. He refuses to quit, and in that refusal lies his extraordinary strength. Or think of the student who fails exam after exam, told by teachers and peers that she is not smart enough, not capable enough, not worthy of success. The easy road would be to accept their words as truth. But she studies harder, she learns differently, she adapts, she persists. She refuses to quit, and years later, she becomes the very teacher who inspires students who were once like her. Ordinary to extraordinary. Through nothing but persistence. History is filled with names that remind us of this truth. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating a light bulb. Ordinary man, mocked and doubted, who became extraordinary simply because he refused to quit. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. Ordinary prisoner, forgotten by many, who walked out extraordinary, not with bitterness but with a vision that united a nation. Malala Yousafzai, an ordinary girl, silenced by violence, but who rose up and refused to quit speaking, becoming extraordinary in her courage and her fight for education. Refusing to quit does not mean the path is easy. It does not mean you will always see progress. Sometimes refusing to quit feels like walking in circles, carrying weight with no reward in sight. But what you do not see is that every step is changing you. Every step is building resilience, shaping character, sharpening vision. Every step of persistence is carving out a destiny that cannot be reached by those who surrender too soon. Extraordinary is not about wealth, fame, or titles. Extraordinary is about impact. It is about the mother who works 3 jobs so her children can eat, the young man who studies under streetlights because he cannot afford electricity, the refugee who rebuilds life from nothing but determination. These are not superheroes. They are ordinary people who refuse to quit, and that decision makes them extraordinary. Too many people underestimate the power of not giving up. They look for shortcuts, for miracles, for overnight success. But the extraordinary are not those who find the easy way. They are those who endure the hard way. They understand that every rejection is a redirect. Every failure is feedback. Every setback is preparation. And every time they rise after falling, they are building a strength the world cannot ignore. Refusing to quit is not dramatic. Sometimes it looks quiet. Sometimes it looks like showing up to work even when you feel unseen. Sometimes it looks like studying another hour when your eyes are tired. Sometimes it looks like trying one more time when the last 10 attempts failed. Persistence is not always loud, but it is always powerful. The truth is this: greatness is rarely found in those who start strong. It is found in those who keep going when strength is gone. Extraordinary lives are not written by those who never fall. They are written by those who rise every single time they do. Ordinary people transform their futures not by being perfect, not by being special, but by one simple choice, the choice to never quit. Your worth is not in what you wear or what you do. It's in who you are becoming. We live in a world that measures worth by appearances and titles. If you wear the right suit, you're respected. If you drive the right car, you're admired. If you hold the right position, people suddenly treat you as if you matter more. But this is a dangerous illusion, because real worth is not found in the clothes on your back or the job title printed on your business card. Real worth is found in who you are becoming. Clothes wear out. Cars lose value. Titles can be stripped away. But the person you are becoming, your character, your resilience, your vision, your integrity, that cannot be taken from you. That is the essence of your worth. Think of the waiter mocked for his shoes. To the CEO, those worn shoes made him look insignificant, unworthy of respect. But what the CEO failed to see was that the waiter was not defined by what he wore or what he did at that moment. He was defined by who he was becoming. Every late shift, every act of service, every moment of humility was shaping him into a leader. And soon, those same shoes walked him into ownership. What you wear may change, what you do today may not look impressive. But if you are growing, if you are learning, if you are building discipline and vision, then you are becoming more than what the world can measure. That is where true worth is found. Look at the stories of countless leaders. Steve Jobs was once a college dropout sleeping on friends' floors. What he wore did not matter. What job he held at the time did not matter. What mattered was who he was becoming. A visionary who would change technology forever. J.K. Rowling wrote her first book in cafes, struggling as a single mother. Her circumstances did not define her worth. Who she was becoming, a storyteller with the power to inspire generations, did. Your present may not reflect your potential. The uniform you wear today may not look powerful. The tasks you are given may feel small. But your worth is not temporary. It is in the transformation. Every day you are becoming stronger, wiser, more capable. Every challenge you face is shaping the person who will one day rise above those very challenges. Too often, people make the mistake of reducing themselves to their current position. They say, "I'm just a driver, just a cleaner, just an employee." But there is no just in the language of destiny. You are not your role. You are who you are becoming through that role. A driver may be learning patience, discipline, observation, and resilience. A cleaner may be building humility, work ethic, responsibility. An employee may be gaining knowledge, skills, and vision that will one day make them the leader of the company. Your worth is not external. It is internal. The world can overlook you, but if you know who you are becoming, you can never be underestimated. The clothes you wear may not be expensive, but your values can be priceless. The job you do may not bring recognition, but your growth can be unstoppable. Worth is not in how the world sees you. It is in how you are being shaped, day by day, into the person you were created to be. And here lies the secret: when you focus on who you are becoming, everything else begins to follow. Opportunities find you because your character attracts them. Respect is given because your integrity commands it. Leadership is entrusted because your perseverance has earned it. The world may measure worth in temporary things, but true worth always reveals itself in the long run. So never confuse your value with your circumstances. Never believe the lie that your job defines your importance or that your clothes define your dignity. You are not the title you hold today. You are not the uniform you wear. You are not the mockery of those who cannot see your potential. You are becoming. You are growing. You are building. And that process, that transformation, is where your worth truly lies. Never despise humble beginnings. Tomorrow you may own what you serve today. There is something sacred about humble beginnings. They may not look glamorous, they may not feel significant, but they carry within them the seed of greatness. Too often, people despise the days of small starts. They look at where they are and feel ashamed. They compare themselves to others who seem far ahead and wonder if they will ever catch up. They see themselves cleaning floors, serving tables, driving cars, or working jobs that seem unimportant, and they mistake those beginnings as their destiny. But the truth is, this humble beginnings are not a prison, they are preparation. Tomorrow you may own what you serve today. History is filled with examples of this truth. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, once worked as a boy serving in a cafe. Today, he owns the brand that defines coffee culture worldwide. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, started as a clerk stacking shelves. Oprah Winfrey began as a local news reporter, often underestimated. Their beginnings were humble, but humility was the soil in which their greatness grew. Think about the waiter mocked for his shoes, laughed at for serving. In that moment, he seemed small. But what he was learning, the patience, the resilience, the discipline, the ability to serve with excellence, was shaping him for leadership. Those humble beginnings prepared him for ownership. The very place where he was dismissed became the place he later controlled. That is the power of refusing to despise where you start. The problem is that many people see only the present and forget the potential. They see the mop in their hand and assume that is all they will ever hold. They see the steering wheel of a car they drive for someone else and assume they will never sit at the head of the table. But humble beginnings are deceptive. They look small, but they are shaping you. They look lowly, but they are building strength within you. They look temporary, but they are preparing you for permanence. Do not despise the job that nobody notices. Do not despise the shift that feels meaningless. Do not despise the uniform that feels ordinary. Every day you show up with discipline. Every day you give your best even in the smallest of tasks. You are training yourself for the weight of something greater. The greatest leaders are not those who started at the top. They are those who started at the bottom and carried the lessons of humility with them to the top. There is a reason why humility is so powerful. When you begin humbly, you learn to value people, not just positions. You learn to respect effort, not just outcomes. You learn the importance of service before leadership. You gain empathy, understanding what it means to be overlooked, underestimated, even disrespected. And when you rise not just with power, but with wisdom, with compassion, with perspective. Tomorrow you may own what you serve today. The office you clean may one day be the office you manage. The tables you wait on may one day belong to your restaurant. The vehicle you drive may one day be part of the company you run. The house you build for others may one day be the blueprint for your own success. Every humble beginning has hidden within it the potential for ownership. But the bridge from serving to owning is built with perseverance, discipline, and vision. You must see beyond the moment. You must recognize that your value is not defined by where you start, but by where you are going. You must carry yourself with dignity, even when others dismiss you. You must give your best even when no one is watching, because the habits you form in small places are the very habits that sustain you in great places. The greatest mistake you could make is to despise your humble beginning, to look down on it, to treat it carelessly. When you despise where you start, you rob yourself of the lessons that will carry you further. But when you honor it, when you embrace it, when you give your best in it, you position yourself for something greater. So when you find yourself serving today, remember that tomorrow may look very different. The hands that serve may one day lead. The voice that is ignored may one day command attention. The person who is overlooked may one day be the one others depend on. Your beginning may be humble, but your future has no limits. Character outlasts laughter. Perseverance outpaces doubt. In life, people may laugh at you. They may laugh at the way you dress, the work you do, the dreams you dare to carry. They may doubt your ability, dismiss your potential, or reduce your worth to a joke. And in those moments, it is tempting to fight laughter with anger, to fight doubt with argument. But the truth is, you don't have to defend yourself with words, because time itself will defend you. Character outlasts laughter, and perseverance outpaces doubt. Mockery is temporary. People laugh today, but tomorrow they forget what they laughed at. Doubt is loud in the moment, but it is powerless against persistence. What lasts is character, the choices you make when nobody is watching, the values you hold when compromise looks easier, the integrity you protect even when it costs you. What endures is perseverance, the decision to keep moving forward even when every voice says you cannot. The waiter mocked his shoes, did not argue back. He did not fight to prove his worth with words. He simply kept moving forward, carrying his dream quietly, building his future step by step. The CEO's laughter lasted only a moment, but the waiter's character lasted a lifetime. The CEO's doubt was loud in that instant, but the waiter's perseverance silenced it forever when he bought the very company he once served. This is the secret. You do not need to convince anyone of your worth. You do not need to chase approval or beg for recognition. If you build character, time will reveal it. If you persevere, results will prove it. The laughter of the world is momentary, but the legacy of character endures. The doubt of critics is fleeting, but the victory of perseverance is lasting. Think of Abraham Lincoln. Mocked for his humble appearance, ridiculed for his failures, doubted in his leadership. Yet his character endured beyond the laughter. His perseverance carried him through defeat after defeat until he became one of the greatest leaders in history. Or consider Thomas Edison. People laughed at his endless experiments, doubted his intelligence, even called him foolish. But his perseverance turned failure into invention, and his character turned laughter into respect. Character is like a foundation. The storms of mockery may crash against it, but it does not break. Perseverance is like a river. Doubt may try to dam it, but it keeps flowing until it finds a way through. Together, they are unstoppable. With character and perseverance, you do not need to answer your critics. Your life will answer for you. The truth is, laughter fades, doubt passes. But the story of who you are becoming lasts forever. When people laugh, they are reacting to what they see in a single moment. When they doubt, they are measuring only the present. But character and perseverance are always shaping the future. And when the future arrives, it always silences the noise of the past. Do not be discouraged by laughter. If they laugh at your dream, it means your dream is bigger than their imagination. If they doubt your path, it means your path leads somewhere they cannot see. The world laughed at the Wright brothers when they spoke of flying, but their perseverance outpaced every doubt. The world doubted those who dreamed of electricity, of space travel, of equality, of freedom. But perseverance rewrote every page of doubt into triumph. Every person who has ever achieved something great has faced laughter and doubt. But the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is this: they chose not to let laughter define them, and they chose not to let doubt stop them. They leaned on character, and they kept walking with perseverance. So when you face laughter, hold on to your integrity. When you face doubt, hold on to your persistence. Build your life on values that cannot be shaken, and keep moving forward even when progress feels invisible. The laughter of today will be forgotten tomorrow, but your character will still stand. The doubt of today will fade, but your perseverance will still carry you forward. And in the end, it is not the laughter that is remembered, nor the doubt. It is the life that was lived with character and perseverance. Respect is not demanded, it is earned, and once earned, it cannot be taken away. Respect is one of the deepest needs of the human soul. Every person longs to be respected. Not for what they wear, not for what they own, not for the titles they hold, but for who they are. Yet in our world, people often confuse respect with status, with money, with outward symbols of power. They believe respect can be bought, forced, or demanded. But true respect does not bow to wealth, it does not bend to titles, it does not belong to arrogance. True respect is earned, and once earned, it becomes unshakable. Think about the CEO who laughed at the waiter's shoes. At that moment, he thought respect belonged to him because of his position. He thought wealth gave him the right to diminish another human being. But respect cannot be stolen through mockery, nor granted through arrogance. The waiter, though dismissed in that instant, was quietly building a life rooted in hard work, in perseverance, in character. And when he returned not as a server but as the owner, respect was not demanded. It was undeniable. This is the truth: when you chase respect, it runs from you. But when you live with integrity, respect follows you. The greatest men and women of history did not demand honor, they earned it. Mother Teresa never demanded respect, yet the world bowed to her compassion. Nelson Mandela did not buy respect, he earned it through decades of perseverance, forgiveness, and unbreakable dignity. Mahatma Gandhi, stripped of titles and possessions, commanded respect not because he shouted for it, but because he lived it. Respect earned is respect that lasts. You can lose money, you can lose status, you can lose positions. But the respect that comes from living with integrity cannot be taken away. It does not fade with circumstances, it grows stronger with time. Even when people disagree with you, they cannot erase the respect that comes from knowing you stood firm in your values. The temptation today is to demand respect too quickly. We live in a world where people want instant recognition, instant validation, instant applause. But respect is not built in moments, it is built over years. It is built in the way you treat people when nobody is watching. It is built in how you respond to hardship, in how you carry yourself through storms, in how you choose truth over convenience. Respect is not a speech you give, it is a life you live. The waiter in the story did not demand respect from the CEO. He did not argue for his dignity. He simply carried himself with quiet perseverance, letting his actions build his future. And in time, the tables turned, not through revenge, but through the undeniable reality of earned respect. Because when you earn respect, it does not need to be announced. It speaks for itself. And here lies the lesson: never let anyone make you feel small because they refuse to respect you in the moment. Their refusal does not define your worth. Your worth is defined by the way you live, the way you persist, the way you rise. You are not measured by how others treat you. You are measured by the respect you build through integrity and perseverance. Respect is not demanded, it is earned. And the beauty of earned respect is this: no one can strip it away. Titles can be lost, positions can be taken, money can vanish, applause can fade. But the respect of those who know your story, who have seen your sacrifice, who have witnessed your perseverance, that respect endures beyond time. The world may laugh at you now. The world may doubt you. The world may even disrespect you because they cannot yet see who you are becoming. But if you stand firm, if you remain consistent, if you keep building with patience and character, the day will come when even those who once disrespected you will have no choice but to acknowledge what you have earned. And in that moment, you will understand that respect was never theirs to give or withhold. It was yours to build all along. Success is not about proving others wrong, it is about proving yourself right. Too often in life, we carry the burden of other people's opinions. We carry their ladder of their doubt, their criticism, their disbelief. We say to ourselves, one day I will show them. One day I will prove them wrong. And while that fire may ignite us for a season, it cannot sustain us for a lifetime. Because the greatest success is not found in silencing others, it is found in fulfilling your own purpose. True success is not about proving others wrong, it is about proving yourself right. Consider the waiter in our story. Mocked for his shoes, dismissed because of his position, laughed at by the very person who believed himself untouchable. In that moment, it would have been easy for the waiter to vow revenge. To say, one day I'll be rich, and I'll show him. One day I'll own what he owns, and he'll regret ever laughing at me. But that kind of fuel burns too quickly, because when your motivation is rooted in anger or pride, you spend your life chasing validation from people who don't even matter. The waiter didn't build his future just to prove the CEO wrong. He built it to prove himself right, to prove that the vision he carried was real, that the discipline he lived by mattered, that the sacrifice he made every day was not wasted. His success wasn't about revenge. It was about fulfillment. It was about rising into the person he always knew he could become. And this is the truth we often forget: the people who doubt you do not define you. Their voices may be loud, but they are temporary. What defines you is your own belief, your own vision, your own persistence. The greatest victories in history were never about silencing critics. They were about fulfilling destiny. Think of the Wright brothers. The world laughed at the idea of flight. Newspapers mocked them. Scientists dismissed them. Crowds ridiculed them. But they didn't chase success to prove the world wrong. They chased it to prove their vision right. They believed in the power of human flight long before the world did, and that belief carried them through every failure, every setback, every disappointment. Think of Rosa Parks. Her decision to remain seated on that bus was not about proving her oppressors wrong. It was about proving her dignity right. It was about proving her humanity, her worth, her unshakable right to freedom. That kind of courage is what reshapes history. When you build your life on trying to prove others wrong, you will always be chained to their opinions. But when you build your life on proving yourself right, you step into freedom. You stop chasing applause, and you start chasing purpose. You stop living for recognition, and you start living for fulfillment. And fulfillment is a fuel that never runs out. The waiter's story is a reminder of this truth. He didn't need to announce his journey. He didn't need to broadcast his struggle. He didn't even need to argue for respect. He simply lived with purpose. He built with consistency. He persevered with faith. And in the end, his success spoke louder than any laughter ever could. And so, the question for each of us is not, who do I need to prove wrong? The question is, what do I need to prove right within myself? What vision do I need to honor? What dream do I need to chase? What potential within me do I need to fulfill? Because at the end of the day, the world's voices will fade. The critics will forget. The doubters will move on. But you will still live with yourself. You will still live with the choices you made, the dreams you honored, the purpose you fulfilled, or abandoned. That is why success must never be about revenge. It must always be about self-respect. When you succeed for yourself, the victory is pure. It is no longer about who doubted you or who laughed at you. It is no longer about what people said you couldn't do. It becomes about the quiet satisfaction of knowing you stayed true, you endured, you believed, and you proved, above all, to yourself that you were right to keep going, right to believe, right to never quit, right to rise. Greatness is not built in comfort. It is forged in struggle. Every person dreams of greatness. We all want to leave a mark, to make an impact, to rise above the ordinary. But here is the truth most people refuse to face. Greatness does not come wrapped in ease. It does not grow in the soil of comfort. It is forged, hammered, and refined in the furnace of struggle. Look at the story of the waiter. When people mocked his shoes, when he was belittled for his position, when the CEO laughed at him, that moment was a struggle. It was not physical pain. It was the pain of humiliation, the sting of being underestimated, the weight of being dismissed as nothing. And yet, that moment was part of his greatness. Because greatness is not a single victory, it is the long road of enduring what others cannot. If his life had been easy, if everything had been handed to him, if no one had doubted him, would he have had the fire to keep building? Would he have had the resilience to keep rising? No. It was the struggle that sharpened him. It was the rejection that taught him perseverance. It was the laughter that became fuel. It was the discomfort that became his training ground for success. History confirms this truth over and over again. Abraham Lincoln was born into poverty, failed in business, lost multiple elections, suffered depression, and yet those struggles forged him into one of the greatest leaders America has ever seen. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, facing isolation, hardship, and suffering, and yet that very struggle molded him into the global symbol of resilience and justice. Malala Yousafzai was shot for standing up for her right to education, and yet it was through that unimaginable struggle that her voice reached the world. Greatness has never come to those who lived in ease. Comfort may feel good, but comfort never makes anyone strong. Comfort never pushed anyone to their limits. Comfort never birthed innovation, never ignited revolutions, never built legacies. Struggle does. It is a struggle that reveals who you are, what you are made of, and how much you can endure. Imagine a sword. Before it becomes a weapon of strength, it is just raw metal. That metal must be placed in fire, hammered, shaped, cooled, and refined. Without the fire and the blows, it would remain nothing but a lump of steel. Greatness is the same. Your struggles are the fire, the blows, the shaping force. Without them, you cannot be forged into what you are meant to be. The waiter's story is not about the shoes he wore or the laughter he endured. It is about the invisible battles he fought every day. Working long hours, facing constant dismissal, feeling invisible while serving others. Yet in those struggles, he built patience. In those struggles, he learned humility. In those struggles, he discovered resilience. And resilience is the foundation of greatness. This is why the most powerful people in history are not the ones who had everything given to them, but the ones who endured what others could not, the ones who walked through fire and emerged stronger, the ones who turned rejection into determination, who turned failure into wisdom, who turned pain into power. And so, if you are struggling today, do not despise it. Do not believe that struggle means you are failing. Struggle means you are being forged. Struggle means you are in training. Struggle means greatness is being built within you. Every tear, every sleepless night, every rejection, every doubt you carry, it is shaping you, refining you, preparing you for what others will never reach because they chose comfort instead of courage. The path of comfort is easy, but it is empty. The path of struggle is hard, but it is where greatness lies. You cannot bypass the pain and expect to inherit the power. You cannot avoid the storm and expect to carry the strength. Greatness asks for a price, and that price is always struggling. The waiter paid that price. Quietly, faithfully, consistently. And when his day came, when the tables turned, when the roles reversed, it was clear that his greatness was not an accident. It was the product of years of struggle, years of fire, years of being forged in discomfort. That is the law of greatness. That is the truth no one can escape. It is not built in ease. It is born in the fire of struggle, The tables always turn. Those who belittle others today may one day stand in awe of their strength. Life has a way of humbling the proud and elevating the humble. It may not happen overnight, it may not happen in the moment of injustice, but time has a way of balancing the scales. The tables always turn. The powerful who mock others for their struggles often discover that power is temporary. The arrogant who laugh at the weak eventually realize that arrogance is fragile. And those who quietly endure, who persist with faith and strength, one day rise so high that even their doubters must look up to see them. When the CEO laughed at the waiter's shoes, he thought the tables would never turn. He believed his wealth and position placed him forever above the man serving his table. In that instant, he was blinded by the illusion of permanence, the belief that success is fixed, that status cannot be shaken, that life will always favor the powerful. But life does not work that way. Time is a circle. Roles change. Seasons shift. Those who look down on others in one chapter may find themselves depending on those same people in the next. This truth runs through history like a golden thread. The Wright brothers, mocked as foolish dreamers, became the pioneers of aviation. Oprah Winfrey, once ridiculed for her poverty and appearance, became one of the most influential women in the world. Steve Jobs, fired from his own company, returned to rebuild it into one of the greatest legacies of modern innovation. The tables turned not because fate was random, but because perseverance always outlasts pride. Belittling others is short-sighted. It assumes that people will remain where they are, that their story will never evolve. But every human being carries within them the possibility of transformation. Today's waiter may be tomorrow's CEO. Today's janitor may be tomorrow's investor. Today's mocked worker may be tomorrow's innovator who changes the world. When you belittle someone, you are not mocking who they are. You are mocking the potential of who they could become. And life has a way of proving you wrong. The waiter's story is not just about one moment of revenge or reversal. It is about the universal principle that the tables always turn. For years, he endured being overlooked, dismissed, underestimated. And yet, he kept moving forward. He worked harder, he dreamed bigger, he built quietly. And when the moment came, when he walked into the room not as a servant, but as an owner, the laughter died on the lips of those who once mocked him. Because when the tables turn, the roles do not just reverse. They reveal the truth. The truth of who really endured. The truth of who truly built strength. The truth of who carried character when others carried arrogance. And here is the beauty when the tables turn. Those who once belittled others are forced into humility. They must see with their own eyes what they could not imagine before, that the person they dismissed was never small, only underestimated. They stand in awe, not just of success, but of resilience. They recognize, sometimes too late, that respect should have been given long before. The lesson for all of us is clear. Never underestimate someone because of their present circumstance. Never assume that a person's current position defines their future potential. Never laugh at another's struggle, for you do not know the fire they are walking through, nor the strength that fire is producing. The student no one believed in may one day transform an industry. The child from the poorest home may one day sit at the head of the table. The person serving you today may one day sign your paycheck. The tables always turn. And so, if you find yourself belittled, mocked, or underestimated, do not despair. Do not let their laughter define you. Understand that time has a way of rewriting stories. Understand that your perseverance, your character, your refusal to quit are already setting the stage for a reversal. One day, those who could not see your worth will witness it so clearly that they cannot deny it. The tables will turn. They always do.